Hi. It's currently 10:35 in the evening, and I'm a little stressed right now. So what I decided to do is I am going to take a break from my work, and I'm going to do a little bit of thought process behind one of my most recent finished projects, which currently has no name, but I'm thinking about naming it Finding Civilization, and you will hear why in a second. So for context, last Friday I was doing my work, and I hopped into one of my favorite streamers' streams. His name is G Theory. Go ahead and follow him if you want. I love sitting around on his music live streams, just watching his creative thought process. But basically, I said that I submitted a finished product to his Discord server that I'm a part of, and so he asked me if I can listen, if we can listen to it on stream, and I said yeah, go for it. And throughout the process, he actually gave me feedback, and so and like his thought process behind the song. And because of what I do and how I write my music, I decided that I'm going to do a sort of like my own take and my own interaction with his commentary. I was there at the time. I was definitely responding to him in chat, as you'll be able to see. But this is how I will go into thorough responses about it right now. Anyway, let's jump right in. This is all going to be done raw, by the way. I'm not going to edit this video in any way.
Oh, where's the chat gone? Where's the chat gone? There we go.
Give a
Actually
second
proud of
chat
this
to
one. Ooh, if it's something you're
actually
proud of,
start.
then I really want to listen to it.
It's going to start off quiet to start, but hopefully you should be able to hear it. I'm talking kind of quietly because it's late at night,
Right.
and I just...
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Let's play this bad boy.
So now it started. If you can't hear it, it's very silent.
Title's irrelevant.
The document title was something like Title Screen Music version 2, which is it's definitely not relevant.
I love how you work with atmosphere.
That's one of my main.
Hang on, it might be a bit too quiet for you guys.
So yeah, let's quickly talk about that. So for my music in particular, I do a lot of audio, like sort of like ambient tracks almost. So sorry, I hit the mic, but I do like to do pieces more that like revolve around like a space and creating that space like audibly and being able to work with like the environments around. That's why I love video game music so much, is that you can just build entire worlds with just the music alone and then have that visual representation on top to show you exactly how it should be represented. But yeah.
Ooh, that drop. Whenever I listen to this type of music, I usually try to picture where I would see myself in.
So yes, chat, if you do, or not chat, yes, comment section, if you do have an idea on where you think this is, I will definitely say it later. But if you think you know exactly where this was inspired from, then
Like the white
go ahead
noise
and tell
type
me.
of sound kind of reminds me of sand.
Go ahead and
So
leave
I'm
a comment
almost
down
picturing
below.
myself in some sort of desert, but not just out in the open. More in like some sort of maybe oasis or temple.
Not exactly a desert, and yeah.
But now this just came out.
Sort of the same feeling of like it's supposed to create like this void of emptiness in a way. Switching over to like a different theme almost with the transition into the arpeggiated synths.
Oh.
So yes, there is water in this track.
I like how there's a lot of little surprises in the background. Ooh, the panning of the bassy sound. This really makes the listener want to really try and pick up on all the little sounds.
So yeah, that was the main goal for this track. It was to create something that like could like be heard over and over again, and you'd still be finding something new about it.
Back.
So there are quite a few subtle little sound effects and little gags in there that you might not realize listening through it the first few times.
Trying to figure out where I would be. I keep thinking of a desert for some reason. Oh. Oh, that came out of nowhere. Ooh. I don't know what sound that is. The bang.
So that's
Sounds
actually
like a choir. If it sounds like a pad,
it's a synth soundscape actually. That's what that is.
Beautiful sound.
With a quick attack on it. Not instant attack, but just enough to give it that sweep. And then I just threw a bunch of reverb on that bottom chord progression. And syncopated that last chord progression.
Oh. The transitions are what amaze me the most in this project.
Personally, I feel like the transitions were very weak. And just in my opinion, using a noise sweep is not really the best way to do it. But I mean, for this piece in particular, I definitely do think that it worked.
Oh. I'm sensing
I definitely
something.
do think that it worked. So, yeah. So now we're just gonna be discussing like some feedback
I felt
thoughts
like the transitions
on
were a
his,
little weak in my opinion.
on G's after
I don't know, because you gave
after listening thoughts.
like these little sounds that help kind of move on. I mean, there was one transition that could essentially have a bit of a longer feel, because I
Definitely,
guess you could
yeah.
add a bit of variety to kind of have some that are longer transitions and play with short transitions and have multiple.
So hang on, very quickly, I want to touch on that. So there, even though this track is done, I'm probably not even gonna work on it anymore. Here are my thoughts on like after like hearing it, and especially like getting feedback from someone else in the field and having like someone else to bounce ideas back off of. I definitely do feel like the transition in between the like the introduction and the arpeggiated synths can be done a little bit better. That's definitely something. Instead of it just like jumping right in, it could have been done a little bit more smooth, if that makes sense, because it just sort of feels like you're walking and then like all of a sudden like you step on or it's like you're walking on like a on like one of the flat like escalators, like the people movers in an airport, and then all of a sudden like the platform stops, and then you're like, oh, okay, now we got to keep moving. So yeah, it's sort of like, but then again, this whole project was based off of surprise and not really knowing exactly what to expect. So that was the whole inspiration behind this piece, just sort of the element of surprise.
Size transitions, if that makes sense. So longer transitions and short transitions, just to give it a bit of a feel. Because as a listener, you're most likely going to try and predict every time there's going to be a transition.
And I'm well aware of this statement. And I like to
And
keep
with this project,
So actually, hang on. Let's ignore that ad for a second. I do want to talk about the element of surprise very quickly, because it is something that I constantly reference while making this piece. But it is definitely something that I keep note of, which is why like some of the parts are very obscure, mainly being that that intense bridge section. And to start, that the entire song was built around that section. That was what originally started the song. And if you look at my Instagram, you'll actually see that I build tracks quite a bit, and you will see exactly where they start, like some middle progress, and then usually the end will go on my music Instagram account, my dedicated music account. So that's that. But in terms of making the transitions like known to people, like known to your listener, yeah, I do that. That's just something I do. But also I do keep that element of surprise with what comes next. Like they expect it to change. They just don't really know exactly what's going to happen next.
how it was surprising in many elements. Like when that sound came up, which it's hard to describe the sound, but the hang on, let me see if I can find it.
The sound underneath the first chord underneath the first
There we go. That,
That
sound.
sound.
Like that took you.
So the sound that he's referencing is a noise sweep, but with, like as I was talking about before, a noise sweep with the attack turned up a little bit so that it's not like a bum bum. It sort of glides into it. Vroom, vroom. So turning down that attack will really helped get that sound that I really wanted, because I didn't want everything to just sound boom on the beat. I definitely wanted to give it a lot of texture in terms of like how stuff sort of glided across, how everything sounded in terms of a soundscape option. So that's exactly what I was going after.
Few places. It came out of nowhere, and it's one of those sounds where it makes the audience go, "Whoa, where did that come from?" But in a good way, like a happy surprise, like Santa just coming out of the chimney, and you just found him, you know, eating the cookie and the milk, and then you're like, "Your secret's safe with me," and then he hops off, and that's it. You know, that type of surprise. That was an odd analogy. I don't know what happened. I guess it's Christmas time. Christmas has been going on my head for quite a bit, so I do apologize.
Christmas is on everyone's head.
I tried to work with a bit more sound effects that I usually would. Sound effects is actually, I was enjoying the sound effects a lot. Like the little, it sounded a bit like there was, obviously I had the desert setting in my mind, so I was thinking like some sort of Beatles and maybe a little Oasis in the background.
So yeah, let's quickly go over that idea of sound effects. Yes, I definitely did use a bit more sound effects than I usually would. I'm one for more getting that ethereal sounding, like ambient track sounding. So in a track like this, where it sort of starts off that way, but then transitions into something else, followed by something more intense, it was definitely kind of weird for me and definitely felt like I needed to do something else. So what was my solution? Start working with sound effects a bit more. So especially like the drop that he was mentioning earlier, like back in like the intro section where it goes, where it just sort of falls off. I had to manually do that. There's no way in GarageBand iOS to do that. So my thought process was, okay, why not just take the note and then add a, what was it? It's not glissando. It's just a, like sort of like a glide. And so I just took that note and just swiped it down. So yeah, that's the whole idea behind that sound effect. The water sound effect that is being referenced is actually part of an arpeggiated synth called, I think it's Droplets is the one that I used, where it's a very nice sounding synth, and it's in my top used, but the water sound effect can sometimes get a bit extra sometimes, so I don't, that's like the only reason why I stay away from it, is just the water drop sound effects. But other than that, pretty much everything is there. And then a bunch of stuff with the noise sweep, with the odd key chords that you hear at the very end, where it's like I mean, those are all mainly used as sound effects in my opinion, because they don't do a whole lot, they don't move a whole lot, and they're only used in like a few certain sections. So that's how I classify sound effects versus actual like parts being played. The odd key, I guess, can sort of qualify because it's not labeled under like a soundscape or a sound effects style type thing. So. Oh, I think I went on mute for the section.
Sorry
Yeah,
about
that's
that.
right.
I'm back. What was I on about? The little crickets
Sound effects.
and the water sounding.
There were no crickets,
There
actually.
was a slight water trickle. Exactly, I remember that. Trying to figure out where it is.
So yeah, that transition could have been improved a lot more.
Hang on. You did a wonderful job with the white noise. It really paints the desert for me. I don't know what the original setting was that inspired you. It would be nice to know what it was, if you don't mind sharing.
So yeah, we will talk about that in a second. But in terms of the white noise, that was also like sort of something that came with the synth, but that was definitely something that I increased and focused on with that particular soundscape. I think, what is it called? I think it's Endless Ocean. I think is what it's called in the library. In the library right here. This library right here. So that was definitely something fun to work with, like just the white noise, being able to like somehow incorporate it and being able to push that a bit forward, because that's definitely a calming noise, and it's definitely something that you would that you would think gives you more of an ambient sound. So that's what I was going for mainly when I was writing this, when I was writing that intro.
Hearing what the inspiration was. It was a slight water trickle, but that came as part of an ARP synth. Ah,
So yeah, that was the droplets.
I love hearing about how other artists make their work, because it helps me get a sense of what I like, and then I go, might try that, might try something similar, might just see what it's like, and it helps you develop your skill set.
So let's go ahead and talk about where this actually took place and like where the scenery was and like what scene exactly inspired this. So I've been playing this game called Starstruck Vagabond. It's a really cool game, and just playing it, like getting the feeling of like just being out alone in space, in control of your own ship, basically doing your own thing. But then like if you stand on the hull, it just feels like a void, like nothing is out there. So that's something that I really wanted to imitate with the beginning. But then coming upon like a planet or something like in game, because almost every planet has a civilization built upon it. So it's important to know that yeah, it's going to be empty for the most part. It's going to feel very lonely out in space when you're all alone. And I really sort of wanted to harness that feeling and put that into the intro. But then when you start approaching a planet, that's when you start to hear the arpeggiations. However it goes. And entering that planet and entering the civilization is where you can find, is where I, in my opinion, where you should start to hear those snare drums and that droplets arpeggiated synth come in. So that was my whole thought process of it's space, but also finding out where you are in space and coming upon something in space, like a planet and civilization.
Plus, it's fascinating. It's something that I love talking about. So I could talk about this for hours with other, producers and music lovers and such.
I wouldn't call myself a producer, more of a composer. I
I
definitely
don't
feel
really
like
have that many people to
those
talk about
terms have very
songs
different
in
meanings.
detail like this, like sounding, atmosphere, transitions, feelings of the song and such. Usually, people talking about music nowadays. I say nowadays like I'm old, but
And as you can see
I
in
don't
chat, I
know
put
that
down
many
that
people
idea
that
that
are
I just
into
explained to you,
music making, so it's
but a bit
tricky
more
to kind of
broadly.
have that type of conversation where you talk really deeply about the different sounds of the project, rather than just going, oh yeah, this song is dope, it has a great beat, makes me feel it, yeah.
Anyway,
That
so I think
doesn't
that
give me no.
pretty much ends everything that we had to discuss here. If you want to hear the track, I will link down below a version of it that you can listen to. I'm not exactly sure if I wanted to release it on my Bandcamp or not. It would be a single, but I definitely have more ideas planned in the future. And hopefully I plan to do a bit more Music Monday stuff on my Twitch. So yeah, go ahead and follow me there. But other than that, that's pretty much all I have to say. I just wanted to do a quick video to get my mind off of the stress of school, YouTube, and all my personal life. So thank you all for joining me. Yeah, I'll catch you later. In the future, maybe. I do plan on reviving this channel, actually. I know I said before that I wasn't going to, but I do have plans to revive it and do a bit more in terms of music, mainly stuff that couldn't go up on the main channel, such as covers. So that'll definitely be interesting. I've been Noah. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.